podcast, counted down our top 10 favorite tracks. And today it is the dynamic duo of LA and Babyface. But before that, I want to, Stevie, Sheldon, how you both doing?
Good evening, guys. Good evening, listeners.
Doing well. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Well, it's good that we actually can get Sheldon, no wind, no snow, no. Yeah, you think you were in Timbuktu when you were on last week?
I'm in Alaska. Yeah, I was in Alaska,
Alaska.
Antarctica. I was in Newfoundland. I was in Newfoundland. That's where I was at.
Tim Bates is already locked in. Hey, welcome. Glad you can join us live. Um, and as you guys come in, just if you put just name in if you just say hi in the comments, we can give you a shout out. How's it been, Stevie? How's your week been? Old school flavor, how you doing?
It truly is the January blues. We've had obviously a shocking week of weather with the cold, the snow, and today's just even worse. It's just we're getting a storm with heavy rains. I mean, I'm just dreaming of a paradise holiday at the moment. So the grimness of January. Who invented January? January.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Joseph Perry, what's up? Glad you can join us. Old school flavor. Sheldon, how's it been for you? Hi,
Everything's
Nicolette.
been well. The weather's been it's been kind of grounding us here. I haven't. We've been having to work from home a lot because of this travel. Travel is kind of like a little dangerous or whatever. But other than that, it's pretty good. On the music side here, everything is pretty quiet. Nothing really major on the horizon.
Okay. Okay.
Who have you been talking to behind the scenes, Namdi?
Usher Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
Okay. Yes, we'll look out for that. It's behind the scenes. Yes. Warren Campbell. He is producer, songwriter. Did Mary Mary? Well, he's married to Erica from Mary Mary, and he's currently working on they're co-producing MC Light's new album. So she's signed to him. So that's going to be some good stuff. So he talked about The Wall and how they got Teddy to feature on that. So so that's going to be a good one. And yes, and I'm trying to get Case because as well. But outside of that, find interesting 90s. There's a lot. Just let me see what I found out that was interesting. There's a lot. Just Babyface times without LA. Yeah. So yes. So there is going to be some talk about some of our tracks if it was just LA and what just Babyface. Big Mike, great to see you. Yes. So okay, we can start our greetings and stuff, but we got the gang all tuned in, and please, as we go through our top 10, please make sure you put your top 10 as we go for our number 10. If you can put in your comment your number 10, hey Colin, it'll be great. So that at least we'll all see where we start. So Babyface and LA and Babyface. So do you want me to start? Or
what we should talk about first is how their sound changed from the mid to late 80s going into the early 90s up to about 93. It did change. You had that whispers kind of 80s groove sound. It's like pre-New Jack sound, very upbeat. It had a boogie groove to it. It was poppy. It wasn't fully New Jack then until about 1989, 1990. That's when their up-tempo sound changed with the likes of Bobby Brown and Pebbles.
Yeah.
So by 92, it did get a lot tougher. So it was an interesting shift in the dance side of their sound. I mean, I'd say the formula for their ballads didn't really change. You could spot a Babyface ballad straight off.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, they, it's quite interesting how their production style differ from Jimmy and Terry, but also, people would say after '92, when Babyface when LA went behind the scenes as an executive, how things change. So it would be definitely interesting to see how that affects our selection. I
It's
did,
sat in the living room. I can hear a really loud TV
yeah,
coming
is
through.
that you, Sheldon?
Yeah, that might be me. That
Okay,
might,
okay,
yeah, you can. Let me play these headphones are really good. The TV in the
okay,
other room, so I was watching TV. Hold up.
okay, that's fine.
It's
So,
better
Guys
now.
watching TV on
yeah,
live on a podcast. You know what I mean?
yeah, because we'll hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear it. Yeah, how much after 7 tonight? It'll be interesting to see
Hey
how
man,
much after
I
7.
got these Quincy Jones headphones. That's what is going on, man.
Okay, okay. I was like, my goodness, I thought it was you, Stevie. Okay, so, so last week I went last, so I could probably start this time around, and I wonder if this was going to be as tough as Jimmy and Terry, and I think
Listen, it's not that tough. It's like I said, there's five entries in my top 10 here that I'd be shocked if they're not in yours.
yeah.
All the viewers.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's
it
come
wasn't.
on.
I think Jim and Terry's was probably because their catalog was deep, and I think after doing this one, I had a lot more respect for Jimmy and Terry. But there was a lot that we're gonna, that I missed out. But I'm gonna start off with my number 10, and my number 10. Oh goodness, I wish I had End of the Road. Boys to Men. So that just sneaked in, And actually, when I look at Big Mike's number 10, that was very.
Can't change now. You can't change
Yeah,
now.
I looked at that, and it's on my list that on like number 11 that could have just sneaked in, but it was End of the Road.
Number 11.
Yeah, it was. So End of the Road was number 10, and one it okay. Sheldon almost fainted with that news, but it was my number 10.
He's got
Hello,
to switch his
Fox Moon.
TV off.
Yeah, no, it was my number 10. I think it was really
Okay.
really introduced Boys to Men to a wider audience. But it's just just a really beautiful song. So that made my number 10. Stevie, what about your number 10?
I just it was, but that track obviously it's their biggest. It's the biggest ever record, isn't it? End of the Road.
Yeah.
I don't think it was any bigger. I mean, it was a record that I got my sleeping bag out for. I'll be quite honest. It was there. It was there. It was probably Babyface's David Foster moment, along with a few Celine Dion records. But that's one record I could leave quite easily. Like I say, I reckon 5 of my entries in my. I've actually got a top 20. I don't know when we can read this top 20 out, but if we're starting at 10, I'd say 5 of my entries. You all should have this in your top 10, and of the other 5, I've thrown a few surprises in there. And at number 10, it's just a record that I've always listened to. I'm not saying it's like the best LA and Babyface production or song, but it's just a record that's, it was one of the beginnings, one of that late 80s beginnings of that dance sound. And I think it stood the test of time. From a group called Dynasty or Dynasty. I don't know how you pronounce it in America.
Dynasty.
Yeah, they had a lot of albums out in the 80s, but they released one in 88. And there's one track on the 1988 album produced by and wrote by LA and Babyface. And it was called Tell Me Do You Want My Love. It was released as a single. I've tried to look for the video today, but there's no video on the YouTube of it. But it's just a great groove, great LA and Babyface groove. Great chorus. The chorus, as all the choruses in Ellen Babyface, they just stick with you, don't they? So, as a bit something different to start my top 10. Dynasty, I heard that one before YouTube it. Tell Me Do You Want My Love from 1988.
By Dynasty, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sheldon.
that Dynasty, that was on the tail end of them being affiliated with Solar Records. And for a lot of people who don't know, is that Babyface's first 2 albums came out on Solar. So that's from that Solar connection. Okay, my number 10 is Babyface's My Kind of Girl from the Tender Love album. I always like that. I mean, I just liked the melodies. Obviously, the music was dope. I mean, like Stevie said earlier, you starting to see with the sounds changing, and it may have something to do with the equipment because they're shifting to where now everything is starting to be like drum heavy. I mean, drum machines were always there, but now you're starting seeing a lot of the snappy percussive style that we see from them going on into the late 80s, going into the 90s. So My Kind of Girl um is my number 10. I really enjoy that record. When I play it, I always sing along too. I just like the melodies, and I just like how Babyface wrote the song. It wasn't written like in a conventional way, you know. I'm not gonna try to sing it, but yeah, anybody who's never heard My Kind of Girl,
My kind of girl. Dun, 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 my
you know,
kind
when
of
you
girl.
first
Oh,
sing the
it's
first
so
verse,
catchy record.
the first thing he says is first. It's like a conversation, you know. But that one is good, man. These guys are throwing out songs, man, that I mean, maybe want to change my list. Chin Beats and Joe Perry and man, all these people, man. I need to stop looking at this screen, man. Let me change my
Guys are
but
going
yeah,
fast. Slow down with these
My
songs.
Kind of
They're
Girl.
flying these songs in.
Okay. So that was your
I'll tell you
so
what,
my number
that was for me, Solo Babyface. That was my favourite record. I had that at number 15 in my top 20. My Kind of Girl. And I had it tied with Tender Lover and Whip Appeal, them three songs from that album. You know, I just thought they were so really catchy. I mean, Tender Lover at times gets a bit annoying. There's some like annoying, like buzzing. The way that record starts at the beginning is like, like really annoying, like buzzing sound. But
It was a
you know,
kazoo. That was a kazoo.
yeah, that was it. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's going to test the time well. But I like the song and I like the way he brings Bobby Brown in on the mid-8 to do the rap. But
Oh man, I
I
love
think
that.
like
Yeah, he was in the video jumping on the trampoline. I remember that. Yeah.
but, you
Yeah, I
know,
was a
My
big
Kind of
fan.
Girl, great, just a great cat. It is his, for me, it's his catchiest best record. Like I said, I get it number 15 now in my top 10.
Okay.
Andy?
My number 9, Two Occasions, The Deal.
Oh,
And yeah, I think this is where Babyface as the poet starts to come to light. I mean, how do you write a song saying "I can think of you at two occasions, morning and night"? It's almost as if it's like it was just a song that even as a kid, not understanding what it was talking about, it just felt like, wow, that's just the creativity of a writer. And when you hear the backstory of that, where um, he up to that time he wasn't allowed to sing lead on any of the songs by the deal, but when Dick Griffey heard him that track, and he insisted that he sang lead on this track, and the rest is history because that then became the big signature song that really took the group to another level. Sadly, they left after that, but it's just an amazing songwriter, and it just has stayed the test of time. So that's my number 9.
The Deal. I'll be honest, I had that number 16 on the same album.
So we actually did have a
Deal.
top.
I had 2 occasions. I tied it with. There's another track on the same album called "Let No One Separate Us," which is it's a ballad in mid-tempo. It's just a brilliant record. And also, we've got to mention "Sweet November" from The Deal as well. I think that was on the album, the previous album, which Troop went on to cover.
That was song. Like 3 years prior. They did like 3 records, and it's funny that you say that because I was about to bring that up because I remember the video Troop did. But with The Deal, man, it was almost like when they did that record, because people think about The Deal, they think about Two Occasions. They don't think about, because they made some good songs prior to that. They were more like some, up-tempo dance party records and whatnot. But it's almost like that Two Occasions record is so strong that people never think about. Everything else they just don't remember because it's been, you have to be maybe of a certain age, or they just, it was just, that record was huge, man. And for them to do it, like you said, Namdi, it's a great coming out for him. Yeah, Chin, Body Talk, and some other records they had. But that was the coming out party, but it was also the nail in the coffin for The Deal because that song became their signature record. and then they put out an album afterwards. And Babyface obviously wasn't on the album, and it was a total night and day situation. without no pun intended. But yeah. Two occasions, man. Big record. My number 9 is Damian Dames, When You Get Down to It.
Brilliant record.
That's on that album. That's a nice mid-tempo record. And obviously you see, it's almost like a lot of those records, man, if the deal never broke up, a lot of those records, they could have put those records out on their own. You know, it was just so many great records. But they had an album. The first single was Exclusivity. But when they came out, when you get right down to it, I loved it. And when you listen to the exchange between the male and the female singer, I loved it, man. That was a big record. It's just it's a tragedy that the fatalities that went on within that group. But they were like the first group. That was a big deal. They were the first group to come out on the LaFace label. Great song. When you get right down to it, very romantic record. The exchange between the two, you didn't have a lot of duets back then, male female groups. Very, very good song. Chin, I see you that Babyface first album, Lovers. I Got You, Babe. I remember that. And if you've ever seen an album cover, it's 2 album covers. When the Tender Love album blew up, they changed the cover with Babyface by the fireplace, but there was another one. They had like a cheesy cover with balloons, and he had makeup on his face. Yeah.
No, that Damian Dame record is just. It's an album. I cherish that album. I do. I can imagine there's probably a demo with just Babyface singing right down to it, because it has its Babyface all over it. Where we up
he's
to?
Done concerts singing these songs, man. He's going on tour and he's singing songs from that catalog, and people are in amazement how they just forget that he wrote those records. So
yeah. We're up to number 8, and that's me. This is a track
number 9.
Oh, okay? Go ahead, Stevie. I thought it was Stevie then Sheldon, but go ahead.
Because you started off in ballad mode for the last 2 records. I'm starting off in up tempo mode, so I've gone with number 9. Might shock a lot of you. Sheena Easton, The Lover in Me, and I've tied that with No Deposit, No Return, and Days Like This from a 1988 album when she worked with LA and Babyface. She worked with Prince. She worked with Angela Wimbush. Again, it's just a record that I've consistently played. It's got that classic up tempo LA and Babyface late 80s swing pop sound. It's just great song. She looked amazing in the video. I think in terms of the way she looked, she definitely peaked the late 80s. She looked absolutely stunning. She could sing. You can't tell me that Sheena Easton can't sing. It's just the fact that she's from Scotland. This white female doing black R&B music. It was a bit, still was in the late 80s, a bit of a taboo. But I thought it was done really well. So number 9 for me, Sheena Easton, The Lover in Me.
Sheena Easton. Wow. I mean, a lot of people put in a lot of tracks that I forgot about, but it's just like you can tell that they really had a real peak between like 87 to 89. What they did with Pebbles and Karen White, The Boys, Mac Band and Whispers and stuff like that. So some really good tracks out there. My number 8 is a song that is probably one of the songs that really got me into music. And after this song, I discovered, say, Teddy and his stuff. But this song was massive. After 7, Heat of the Moment.
Great record.
It's a song that I said that I always visibly reminds me of just really like getting into music and wanting to know who did that and stuff like that. But when I interviewed after 7, and they talked about being older, that they lied to the record label that they were younger than they were, and that was their first track. And Kevon says 6 months before that they were working in a factory, and 6 months later they have one of the biggest songs around, and it just the way that switched. But I just love the song. It's just yeah, it just yeah, it's one of my all time favorites. So even though it's number 8, but it just brings back memories. Yeah.
My number
So
8 is Two Occasions. We already talked about it, but
okay.
big record, great record. I think that when you look at the Jewel, yeah, Kavan may be older than Kenny. Yes, I think. When you look at the
Yeah.
records, if
Kenny
you
was
had
the
to pick,
youngest. Yeah.
when you look at the top, you know, when you, I won't say top, but when you look at the most memorable records, that's out of that whole Babyface situation, it's Two Occasions, and I'll say memorable record. There are people I'll just stick with that record. When you look at that song, people may not know who wrote it, who sang it, but when they hear it, they'll be like, "Oh, that's the record I remember from my mom." Those Generation Z people.
Mm.
But obviously, I've seen them perform. The Deal performed a record on BET. They got back together about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and they were performing
Yeah,
the
I saw
record.
that. That with LA on the drums. Yeah.
Yeah, and people lost their minds, man. Then of course the Babyface and the Teddy. When he put that in Two Occasions on, it changed the whole mood of the whole verses that they had. It just changed it. He
Mm.
put the live version on. He didn't put the regular version on. He put the live version on. And just people lost their minds, man. So yeah, big record, good record.
Yeah, Carlos has said he was going to come on the show, so I'm still trying to get that sorted out.
I wonder
Carlos
what would
from the
have happened
Deal.
if that Deal record, Two Occasions, came out in say 1990. Would have been a
What,
lot
Two
bigger
Occasions?
worldwide. Yeah, would have been a lot bigger worldwide, maybe.
I don't know, man, because
Held it back a few years and then just.
I don't know, because now you're starting to see. I mean, groups are still in, but it just depends, man. Because there's a lot of things working for that record. The record is very good, and then of course you hear it on the radio, sounds good, but then the video aspect of it, the video kind of fits. So I don't know what would have happened if they would have came out in '90, because now there's so many young groups that are coming out. What the visual presentation would have been like as far as the record.
Mm.
But if the record would have come out, I think it still would have been very popular, very big, you know. But that live version, oh my God, that's I mean, the live version is what they
Yeah,
sing when they're on stage.
yeah. I mean, I think if it had come out in the 90s, I mean, there was a lot of competition back then in that 90s, and slow jams would have given it its time. But as I said, it's still a big track, no matter how long ago it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Number 8, I'm on.
So you're number 8, Stevie.
Got your good friend, Andy, Karen White at number 8. I've tied 3 big tracks from a debut album: The Way You Love Me, Secret Rendezvous, and Love Saw It. I think I got a bit fed up of hearing Superwoman? But you can't, The Way You Love Me, it's just addictive, isn't it? Addictive song.
And that's right. You can play it over and over again, and then when she sings, that's my favorite part of the record, man. That's ear candy, man. Karen White,
Secret
man.
Rendezvous.
Go ahead, Stevie.
Secret Rendezvous. There's times when I'm really, really into that record, and there's other times when I'm not. But it's still, because of my memories of 1988, it's got to be in there. So, but the big records,
yeah,
it's just
wow.
It's a fine ballad.
Yeah, but what I liked about I remember when I interviewed Karen and Babyface when he and I love when Babyface does background on all his track. You can hear his little voice, and he's, yeah, I won't stop, and you can hear him. You can just hear him. You can just make out Babyface right in the background. Yeah, that was, and for anyone who didn't hear the story, they, LA and Babyface did, the bulk of Karen's first album, but then Jimmy and Terry did his sophomore album. The reason why was because LA Reid and What's the name? The guy, J Lo's, the former Warner Brothers
Benny
head,
Medina. Benny Medina.
Benny Medina. So Benny Medina. So what happened? Just for those who didn't know the story, Ellie and Babyface, Pebbles was married to, started to date L.A. Reid. Benny Medina invited L.A. and Babyface to come to a big Warner Brothers launch, so Karen White and everyone was there. They come walking with Pebbles. Pebbles at that point is the enemy. She's from a different label, MCA, and then she comes on in, and Benny Medina says, this is making me look bad because I'm here to promote Karen, and you're bringing in her rival Pebbles. She has to go. Now, he didn't know about the whole dating situation. L.A. Reid took it personal.
Wow.
And he says, well, if she can't stay, we're leaving. And Benny and L.A. Reid didn't talk for, I think, 5 years. And they didn't let her do they didn't let them do the Karen White sophomore album.
Wow.
Now, this is L.A. Reid recounting this, 20 years later, because Benny says, yeah, we fell out, and that's why I couldn't let you do the Karen stuff. When I interviewed Karen, she had no idea. She assumed that L.A. and Babyface were doing their own artists, like Tony Braxton and stuff. So that's why they didn't want to produce her. But she didn't realize that actually it was because Benny Medina fell out with them and blocked them from working with them. So it is because they knew how to get the best of Karen. Because, Karen White did all the background vocals for Johnny Deal's Prerogative album. She Farewell to Friend, My, she's all singing out the background, all that stuff. So it would have been an awesome thing if they had done a sophomore album. But
I did say Karen White was your best friend, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I love Karen. So you had so what we've just done. So you just did number 8. Yours number 8.
We're on number 7 now. We're on number 7, Namdi. So off you go.
We're number 7. Okay. So my number 7 is a song that they did for the Soul Food album.
Ooh.
And it's called A Song for Mama.
With
Boyz II Men.
Nice
Such a, Babyface is just in a powerful stuff. I think, but he's really good at getting Boyz II Men to interpolate his songs for him, and that's just an emotional track, and it is up there with Dance My Father with Luther. So it's just a really emotional, powerful track. It shouldn't just be played on Mother's Day stuff, but it's a really, really powerful track. So yeah, that's my number 7, Song for Mama by I think there was just Babyface on that one. Boyz II Men. So
I need to dig that soundtrack out and listen. I don't think I've ever even listened to that, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah. So that was Soul Food, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got the soundtrack for the up tempos. There's a few big up tempos on there. There's a total track on there. Is it Boys and Girls or Boys or something? I can't remember, but probably what I bought it for. But yeah, nice surprise. I like that, Namdi, even though it's another sleeping bag entry.
Sheldon, what makes your number 7?
My number 7 is going to be Slow Jams. Group Midnight Star. That's one of the earliest records that Babyface wrote as a songwriter outside of his group. The record's called Slow Jams. And it's a very romantic record. It's kind of like he captures the mood, and you got to listen to it. It's a really dope record. It's one of those records that, once again, that if he would have put that out on his own, it would have been really, really big. But Slow Jams was big for a group called Midnight Star. The Midnight Star was signed to Solar Records, and Babyface started to contribute some songs for them, and that was one of the wrong songs that he co-wrote. So anybody who's never heard it, check it out. It's very good. It's kind of in the vein. When you hear it, you hear the pitch, you hear the guy singing in the same tone that Babyface is singing in, and Babyface does it in concert. So Slow Jams is really a really, really dope record, and you get a sign of what's about to come around the corner, because Slow Jams, the album comes out in 1984. And that's 40 years ago. And you start to see what's around the corner when he's writing those ballads, man. So yeah, Slow Jams. And they're like
1994,
no,
Slow Jams.
No, 84. I'm not talking about the Usher Monica.
Oh,
I'm talking about that's a remake. They're remaking the record.
right.
That's not they're
Oh,
remaking the
that's the
record.
only one I've heard. Okay, because that's the only one yeah, that's the one I knew about. I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah. Listen
that
to the
it.
original.
Yeah.
Listen to the original. You hear the Babyface tone. You know that is the record. Man, these are the time. Man, it's a lot of different options here, man. They need to do the show. They need to do the show. So that's my number 7, though. Yeah,
So sorry, who
Okay.
was the original by? Sorry, Sheldon, I missed that.
Midnight Star. Midnight Star.
I see. I need to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah,
Another good
yeah.
surprise entry, Sheldon. Another very good surprise entry. Got me with that.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Um,
What's your number 7, Stevie?
I don't know if I've already told this story on a previous podcast, but on my first trip to the States in 1996 with a couple of friends who were they were running an independent record label. We travelled all around the South, and we ended up visiting this. I think it was some independent label called Chip Records, and we get to the label, and the guy showing us around his label has got all these placards on, platinum disc, because he was a former A&M executive. And anyway, he shows us around, and at the end of the day, he takes us into this room where all the product is, all their like albums, CDs, and vinyl. And there's just boxes of this title there, and he pulls out and he goes, "Oh, it gives us all one." And it's Damien from Damien Dame's solo album. And bear in mind, he just died. He literally died about a month previous.
Wow.
But he gave us a copy of his solo album. Obviously, there was no Babyface stuff on that. But that brings me to my number 7, which is Damien Dame. And I've tied Exclusivity, Gotta Learn My Rhythm, and Right Down to It from that album. Just an album that I cherish very much. Wish they would have been bigger. But Right Down to It, you can't front on that record. It's just, I don't know. It needs covering. Someone needs to cut. But then again, you can't. You wouldn't do a better version of that, really, would you? So they did it. But that's my number 7, and yeah, what surreal feeling being given a copy of Damien's album just after he kind of passed away.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great album, that his solo album. But finally, quite collectible now. It's
Okay. Yeah, it's strange enough. I didn't really get into them, and maybe sometimes I don't know if they got being the first group ones out of LaFace. I didn't really get into them, but they did have but listen back to some of their stuff, and it was really good. But it doesn't always that male female sort of duo. It can be hit and miss sometimes, and maybe when they came out, it was just not the right time.
I remember you did ask Daryl Simmons about them.
Yeah.
And he kind of said a similar thing. It just didn't, it was a great record, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
It was the first release on the records, and it just didn't take off. It must have been under pressure then. Imagine that first album release on the label, first couple of singles, and it just doesn't happen. You think you're at a loss already as a label.
I think when you look at that time, the records were good, man, because the records were in the same vein of whatever was coming out later on the label. But I think what it was happening was that, well, one reason anyway, is that now the audience is really now skewing young, early 20s and later. And they're looking at groups, and the music is there, but sometimes also videos are coming out, so you kind of like, because that record, it's not like a large gap between them coming out and TLC. TLC is almost like right behind them, and people really just gravitated to that. So I think the whole presentation of the group, people didn't really pick up on that too much, but those were some great records, man. Great records on that album.
Yeah. And Chili was a background dancer for Damien Dane. But the other thing is we have to give a shout out to we have to give a shout out to Dow Simmons because I mean, a lot of these tracks he was in a deal. He wasn't official, but he was playing in the band. He did a lot of production, both with LA and Babyface. He was the third member. Then even when LA went behind to do be in the office, he and Babyface did End of the Road and Can We Talk and all those tracks. So Dow Simmons, really, silent partner, but really definitely somebody that needs to get a shout out as well.
That's the name of his publishing
Um,
company too. His publishing company is Silent Partner. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. you know, and strangely enough, he actually got the best publishing deal compared to LA and Babyface because Dick Griffin took their publishing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
So if you look at anything written by Babyface, you'd still see Solar part of the publishing, and so because Daryl was in the background, when it came down to him, he didn't get hassled to sign off his publishing. He learned by watching what was going on, and LA told him, "Look, man, when you're ready, do your own thing," and he got a sweet deal.
So
Yeah.
when did they switch?
Um,
When did they switch from to when they went and got their own situation from away from Dick Griffey, their publishing?
It was Clarence Avant that gave them that opportunity when um, I think it was something where Dick wanted to give them a production deal, but they just didn't feel like he was learning a lot of business, and LA just didn't feel as if this was good for them, and so that's when they broke away from the deal, and then that's when they Clarence introduced them to the other. I was going to call the other gangster, but what's the name of the guy from Arista? Clive Davis. So yeah, he was able to sort of get them away from Dick for a while.
Yeah, and
But
that's a
anyway,
good look.
go ahead.
So that's Dick Griffey. Two things that got away because he had Snoop Dogg before everybody else had him. He had the whole Death Row situation, and then
Wow.
before everybody else got him, and of course he was on the ground floor of the LA and Babyface thing, and at that time Solar was kind of like going downhill. So I can see how him offering a production deal for them because now that could have kicked them into the next generation, but it could have been the money situation wouldn't have been great. So
Yeah, it was, yeah, definitely
You guys are
money
dropping the knowledge tonight. You're dropping coming out.
Yeah. Well, my number 6 though, getting back to the fun part. My number 6 is just like Stevie. It's the production they did on Karen White. I put Superwoman down alongside Secret Run of You and The Way You Love Me. But the reason why I do pick Superwoman because I remember back in Nigeria when it starts off, she's talking about putting breakfast, and I was like, what? It just felt so real. I mean, even though the video was very visual, but the lyrics were very slowly, and it's like, how does he write how a woman is feeling and that whole thing? So that became another song that just made me start to I mean, it was just it's just such a I think sometimes as a songwriter, Babyface, I don't know if people underestimate him, but for him to start writing something like that from, and somebody who tried to, I won't say copy it, but think about Beyonce, If I Was a Boy, that is Superwoman kind of updated because you're trying to talk from a position where you don't, you neglected me, don't you think I can do all this stuff myself. But that was just love Karen White, just loved her energy, her performance and stuff like that. But so that's
Like you say,
that production.
if you're like come from, say you're a traditional man, and you could put the word chauvinist or sexist in the same breath of being a traditional man, and you hear your woman sing you a record with those lyrics to you, that makes the toughest guy just like tremble. You know what I mean? You're like you're on the floor crying there when you you know what I mean? In that song Superwoman, I mean, it is a woman's anthem.
Yeah,
it is a woman's anthem. That, and it's a hard thing to hear for a man, but if you get home at night and your food's been made for all your clothes are washed and you're just taking your missus for granted, this is what's gonna come back at you, eventually. We've
Yeah,
all been in
definitely.
that position. We've all been on the summer, you know. Been,
Yeah.
you know, an absolute saint as a guy, which I don't believe we all have.
Yeah.
He is
I
great.
love this David. Babyface is the Ty Perry of music, being
Yeah,
able to.
he's very good in terms of writing. He can write for. He's very good at writing for the female voice and the male voice. Very two distinctive things. Very good at doing it. You know, some people when they write songs, it's it's okay. You're writing songs through. It can be just exclusively through the male voice. Some are able to go ahead and write. Joseph Perry dropping jewels. Okay, one less bell to answer. Yeah, I can see that.
Wow.
You know, Fifth Dimension, one less bell to answer. Very the arrangement and yeah, how the song is paced. But yeah, he's able to write for the male and female voice, man. He can write tough songs. You know, he can write vulnerable songs and just yeah, man. Babyface is great, bro.
Yeah. Um, okay.
Okay,
Sheldon,
I guess
you're
I'm
number
next.
6.
Yeah, I need some blinders on, man, because they're throwing a lot of jewels out here. Okay, Ready or Not. Ready or
Okay.
I love that record. You know, that record, obviously, when you start looking at the arrangements, if somebody put a lot of those LA and Babyface ballads and you just kind of just play them back to back, there's a continuity, a musical continuity of that. It's just like they're very slick, but they're very smooth, very mellow. But Ready or Not, oh man, what can't it's great, man. I can't even put it in
I'm
words, but I'll
surprised
just
it's
say
only
that the
your number
record
6,
is
Sheldon.
what's that?
You're surprised you
I'm
got this number
surprised.
6?
Oh, Ready or Not.
You know, I thought it'd have been a bit further up, to be quite honest, in your chart, but it's in there.
Man, I kind of do. But before this, I was trying to do some things, man. I said, man, I had that, and I took that off and something else. But when I look at Ready or Not, when you look at that, I give you the sun, the moon, and the mountains. I'll give you the world. And people have written songs like that in the same vein, but it's somehow when Babyface puts those lyrics together, man, they also encourage you. You just can't help but not sing along.
Yeah. Wow. Stevie, what about you? What's your
Number
number 6?
In terms of I thought about this, in terms of actual New Jack Swing production, what could you say LA and Babyface's best New Jack Swing production record? Where did it really peak? Where did it get its most toughest? And I can even just listen to this as an instrumental. I get my 12-inch out, the bonus beats, the instrumental, the dub mix. It's a long record, but I think it's their best New Jack Swing production. I don't know whether how the viewers are going to... But I gave it to Pebbles, giving you the benefit of the doubt, or giving you the benefit. I mean, you could say it got very tough with Bobby Brown's Humping Around, but I'll give you the benefit. I thought in terms of a piece of New Jack Swing, I thought it was their best New Jack Swing record. So at number 6, I got Pebbles, giving you the benefit of the doubt. And I also threw in Girlfriend, which, again, it's the same with Secret Rendezvous. There's times when I'm really into Girlfriend, I can and there's other times I just can't listen to it. But it's still in there. And I tied it with Stay With Me from a second album as well. Stay With Me it's a Daryl Simmons record, I think, but it's just a great song and great like groove ballad. But give me the benefit.
Yeah, so when that came out, I was still in Nigeria, and that was a big track, big track.
I'm trying to think, any
track.
listeners, can you tell me a better full-on New Jack Swing production from LA and Babyface than possibly? Here's one, and it's at number 14 in my chart. Possibly Jermaine Jackson, I Dream a Dream, the remix of that. That is tough. That is a New Jack production as well. I Dream. So again, and that was 91. Pebbles, Give Me the Benefit was 91. So I think they peaked there with they'd really hit their sound, New Jack sound around that period.
Okay.
That's number
Okay.
6 anyway, Pebbles. And on top of that, she's very quiet. She's very quiet, Pebbles. We need her in. She's been very quiet for years now. We need to hear something because all we've heard about is TLC complaining about her. Two sides of the story. You know what I mean? There's always two sides to a story, and we need to hear it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've reached out to her, and she said that she's not ready right now, but when she is ready,
she
she'll
needs
let
to
me
come out
know.
with the boxing gloves on. You know what I mean? Put in straight. I'm sure she can.
The thing is, though, because when I did reach out to her, and as I said, she said, she appreciated the call, reach out, but she said she wasn't ready. When I've put anything about Pebbles, when I think it was her birthday, I posted it was her birthday. There's a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, you stole their money and everything like that." And I think if you listen to a lot of the interviews that we do, it's the parent record labels that do all the business and take all the money, and so, but she got the rap as the one who stole the money. They blamed it on her, when in fact Reid has said it wasn't even LaFace or Pebbles. It was really the deal that they signed with Arista. So, but unfortunately, no one reads the fine print afterwards. So, but and she is a pastor now, but she doesn't want to bring that up. So, but she did say when she's ready, she'll give me a shout out. So, but yeah, definitely, she was really. I mean, she had everything: the looks, the voice.
She's got your number. She's got
And
you on speed. When she's ready,
yeah, yeah.
halftime chat, just waiting to do the interview.
Just waiting for the interview. My number 5
Did we
was
have?
Sheldon's
Hold on.
number 6.
Did we have Nandy's number 6?
Yeah, my number 6 was the super. Can I start off? So mine was Karen
I'm
White.
getting confused at where we're at in this time.
Yeah, so you've done your after you. Then I start with number 5. And my number 5 is Sheldon's number 6, Ready or Not. Goodness, yeah, it is. I love Kavon's. I love his how he comes in, and then I definitely love how the late Marvin would start it off slowly, and then Kavon would just take it to another level. I think, when they were working with Boys to Men, I think they were able to use that type of formula. But man, it is such a beautiful song. And I mean, they've got they had a lot to compete with, after 7, because they were much older than everyone else that was coming out. But they had the tracks, they had the secret formula, which was LA and Babyface and Daryl Simmons producing the music for them. And just love that track. After 7, Ready or Not, my
Great
number
that 5. It's in your top. Great that it's in your top 10, Namdi. Sheldon's, and if it's in mine, we'll see.
Steve, Sheldon, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be the Jacksons. Nothing compares to you. That was that record. I'm trying to tell you, man. When I heard them sing, it was crazy, man, to see the Jacksons singing like New Jack Swing, and I was just like, wow, they're doing the Jacksons, and of course that's the same album. Teddy did some songs on them too, but I was wow, to hear them sing. But when I'm hearing the record, it was just, they executed the record very well. And it's like, one thing about the up-tempo records that LA and Babyface are doing, there's a certain rhythm, there's a certain cadence. No matter who's singing those songs, it's really quick. You hear Karen White, obviously the Jacksons. A lot of people, when they sing these songs, they have this rapid fire lyrical flow, the way the vocal arrangements go, and it's a signature, man. And to hear them do it, because my mind, I'm used to them producing themselves, man, from years back, but to see them do it, I was happy, man. And then you see the video and they're out there trying to dance and whatnot, but it was a great record, man. I loved it.
No, yeah, I have to give it to you. I mean, yeah, it made my top 20, but it was definitely big hits, and I by this time I'm still in Nigeria when that came out, and it really took them to another. It reintroduced the Jacksons to a generation who didn't hear them before Michael left. So it was a
Yeah,
big album for them.
that record. I mean, it's like how they ended up doing it. It was that when Michael Jackson was doing his thing, they were going to drop them, I believe, and Michael made sure that they had another album in the can to keep their contract with Epic. And when they're singing the song, I love how when they're incorporating all their voices, because you listen to Randy singing the first verse, and then you hear Jermaine, he's doing the bridge, and then you hear Jackie's falsetto floating over everybody else's, man. And it's a great use of all three of the main singers, their voices, because obviously Marlon is not there, Michael is not there, but the whole usage of their entire voice. I would have loved to see them do an entire album with those guys, man.
Yeah, I'm sure they. Yeah,
It was great.
Because they start off with that 2300 Jackson Street, which was like everyone in there, and I think that was whether that was was their best track out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then of course on the New Jack side, real quick, the She record that Randy was singing on. I think that even when Michael was gone, it gave them a whole different dynamic. But that Nothing Compares to You, I love it. And then I love how it was real clever, because right around at the hook, it kind of like you said, it's a reintroduction, because they say, "Hey Randy, do you love her? Hey Jackie, do you love her? Jermaine, do you need her? Hey Tito." It was like it was a way of reintroducing them. So that's a great way of framing that, man. Yeah.
Yes.
There's only one. There is a comment I've got for that,
Those are my three favorites.
record, actually.
Was that?
It was that was number 18 in my chart. The only gripe I've got with that record, not the album mix, because it's did anybody buy the 12-inch mixes? There was 12-inch put out, and normally when you get a remix, they take the record to a different level. They improve it, they either extend it, or it's another mix where they actually toughen it up. But they ruined the remix. It's like, what I can remember about that remix was there's a bit in it where they just take the groove out, and like, where's it gone? It's just like, where's the groove gone? And you're like, come on, bring it back, and it's just it's a house. Oh no! But as an album mix, it's probably, I don't know. It just the video looks a bit dated though. It does look a bit dated. I thought the album, the album cover looks the whole thing looks a bit dated. The imagery and you know what I mean,
right? But you know what it is? The budget, man. The budget is not there. The 20. It's like the budget probably was not there. I mean, the album cover, I understand it because it was kind of like a play on their actual address. But when you look at the video during that time, the whole black and white, you saw a lot of videos that were like that, man. So I think just coming off of everything that they were doing in the past with the big budget videos, it just the budget was not necessarily there with them. But I'll say this, man, is that record that he did for them, Nothing Compares to You, it just was. I love, because people talk about being a producer. Yeah, you can produce some tracks, but it's another thing where you got to be able to produce people's voices. And he did a really good job at setting that record up for their voices, because obviously their range is very important. But when you had the Jermaine hitting the bridge or the refrain of the record, man, that was almost like the hook, man. So they knew what verses or how to set the record up to make the record win according to the verses, man. So yeah, say genius, man. Genius.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that inclusion. Very good surprise. Good surprise.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
My top five, any of these could have been number one, actually, from five data number one. But Johnny Gill is in at number 5 with My, his most well-known ballad, Fair Weather Friend, and There You Go from the Boomerang soundtrack. But, My, it's just what I don't need to say anything, do I? It's just a show-stopping ballad, really, at the end of the day. It's one of his greatest. It is his greatest ballad.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful record. Fair Weather, great up-tempo record. Got the face sound, and then you got the surprise of the boomer. There You Go from the Boomerang soundtrack. So Johnny Gill, number 5.
Yeah, and just to talk about that, I mean, I think he did have the best three albums out of the whole New Edition clan. You know, he stuck with LA and Babyface and Jimmy and Terry. Did a few himself, but he really had solid production. He came out with some really great albums, and it probably could have been if Motown had got their act right. They should have sold a lot more albums. The third album and as well. But yeah, they knew how to get the best out of him. Yeah, you can't argue with that.
They
And
had good
actually,
chemistry.
yeah, they definitely. And but the fact that he worked with both Jimmy and Terry and LA and Babyface, and really got some great tracks. Um, this was a surprise inclusion for me at number
What,
4.
another one?
Yes, it is
Oh,
another
we've had
one.
a three from you already.
But it goes back to the songwriting of a Babyface, and this comes from the Boomerang soundtrack. Love should have brought you home last night.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Great.
you see it in the movie, but it's like, who writes a song while love should have brought you home last night? You should have been with me. You should. It's just always like it's a song that makes sense. It's a story that makes sense, and this was the introduction of Tony Braxton, of course. And the whole rumor is that the song was supposed to be sung by Anita Baker, but she didn't feel as if that the substance fit her, and she suggested, hey, why don't you let the lady who's singing the demo, which was Tony, why don't you let her sing it because she's got a unique voice. And they said, okay, might as well do that. But it's just just of course you see the little Boomerang clip before it starts, and it's like as if, and then Babyface, yeah, I've got a song to write about, and it's just a beautiful piece of poetry. And yeah, just I had to put it in there because it is a song that just touches you when you anytime you listen to it.
What number are we up to now? Where are we up to?
So that was my number 4.
All right. So is it my number? Is it my turn now? Yeah. Oh, shit. I can't remember. Right. Number 4.
No, but it's Sheldon as number 4 goes next. Sheldon.
He's gone asleep.
Okay, mine is going to be
It's got to sleep.
mine is going to be my. Great record, obviously very romantic record. The thing I love about those records that they, my, and all the records that they're writing is that unlike today, when you hear songs now, you can hear them, but you don't know the name of them. You don't know the name of the songs. You can hear them and they may sound good, but you can't remember the name. But when you hear you these LA and Babyface records, you know the title. And then the lyrics, they're just timeless, man. Timeless record. And think about it. When I think about them, those guys had a monopoly. It's anybody that's putting records out, you have to go to them. But my, you're talking about that's one of those records that you bury in the time capsule and you dig it up years later, and it's there. And the Reid record is so potent that it's not even ready to be sealed in the time capsule yet. You got to wait another 15 to 20 years to seal it in the time capsule, man, because the record is now. It works now. It works now, and it's so potent that I don't think anybody has ever tried to remake that record, So yeah.
Yeah. But when you think about, I mean, how do you just decide to write a title, my, and stuff? Yeah, just my, and at first I thought, some people will think the song was called Red Dress because that was the beginning of it. But of course, Chris DeBarge had the song Red Dress, a Lady in Red. So I think.
But that's genius, though. When your lyrics, it's not even the hook, but the lyrics just stand out. I mean, it's 3 records, like you just said. I think it was the one you just said. Okay, it was my, and it was another record, Your Choice. I forgot which choice that you had, but it's 3 records that they had. Oh, Love Should Have Brought You Home Last Night.
Yeah, Love Should Have Brought You Home.
Very clever lyrical records, but they're conversational tones. And the other one, obviously, I may wait, because one of you guys may bring it up, but Babyface just it's like you understand concepts, man, and you're
Do you think,
writing in it. It's very simple.
Do you think Babyface listened to a lot of 70s Barry White songs?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's of their age group. I wouldn't be
Because
surprised.
he kind
You
of
know.
told a lot of stories in the 70s. He did song. He got these really long song titles. You're my first, my last, my everything.
No.
Yeah, man.
He was the master telling stories with really long song titles. And he come from
Yeah. And then they fit. They fit.
yeah.
Even when
Yeah.
you're writing, even when you're looking at exclusivity, you're wondering how can you fit exclusive a song, but he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, Stevie, what about you now? What makes your number 4?
I picked this one. Not only was it like a universal big hit at the time, it's just the way they did 2 versions of this record: the album or the radio edit mix, which it's got a big like intro and then goes straight into the song, boom, and then there's the epic 9 minutes plus 12-inch mix, which is like it's like a movie over 9 minutes. The way it just builds and builds and the groove and everything, but it's the Mac band Roses Are Red.
Everyone has been asking about it.
A great song, it still makes all the 80s compilations that come out today, still gets played on the radio. That epic 9-minute mix, though, if anyone's got the 12-inch mix, dun 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 dun, and the way it built, and just epic. And like I said, the radio mix just goes straight into it, and you're just singing along. It's an anthem. It's an anthem, and to me, it's like it's just not. I don't think in terms of LA and Bay, they don't mention that record enough. I think it's one of the best.
No, and maybe because the group themselves didn't do much afterwards, but it was one of the. I wouldn't want. I hate calling them one hit wonders, but it was a big song for a group that just didn't pick up after that. And it was a global hit. And when I talk to guests and I say you had a global hit, and I said, well, no, it was big in the States. And I said, look, it was big in the States, it was big in Europe. But at the time, for 7 years of my life, I was living in Nigeria, going to school. And if a song came over here, you're crossing over. So I said, look, that's a global hit. And so it just narrowly missed down to my top 10. But that is, of my generation, if you play that, everyone knows the track. Simple chords, simple lyrics, roses are red, violets are blue, but all I know is that I love you. I mean, it's just, it's almost as if Babyface was being lazy, like, well, let me just try and do a little nursery rhyme here. And this is the difference between when LA left the production stuff, because all the drum, when I interviewed Daryl Simmons, he says LA's drum programming is what set them apart during that 80s, because he did all the drum programming. Then they would do all the melodies and the writing. But that's when you could see, if you look at all those big tracks that he did with Bobby and Karen and Pebbles, and it was all the whole LA's drumming, the beat drum, and then the lyrics at the background. So yeah, that's a massive, massive track.
I'll tell you what, the way it's going, we could have our first triple number one, triple tied number one here. Let's see.
It could be. I would.
We won't.
Yeah, well, it may switch. But my number 3, and I had to put this in number 3 because I think my number 2 was the forefather of this track. Tevin Campbell's "Can We Talk."
Oof.
Now, unfortunately, it's been played out a lot, but it is another Babyface sort of like love poem stuff. And he had that track written years ago, that before he decided to give it to Tevin. But it's it was just one of those songs where you listen to it and you could be in his shoes, like, man. Especially if you're not played, the girls come easily. If you're in a position where, man, I wanted to talk to this guy, I just don't know how to ask her out, you could relate to that track, So that was, and I think the fact that the way Tevin delivered it, in such a sweet, innocent way, is what we miss in music today. That type of innocence of some music, it almost would, because in the 70s and 80s, it felt like music was so innocent and sweet, and we could see it. Then they went to when R. Kelly came in and says, "Man, I just got to pump and grind." It just seems like it just overnight switched. But that was just still remembering when love songs were valid and innocent. So yeah,
And you got to look in terms of just Kevin pulling it off, singing that record, because like people now, they just sing to be sing, just to be singing, but to present the record, he's selling the record, he's presenting it, he's capturing the vibe and the mood, just versus people, just somebody singing over a beat. It's almost like he's the equivalent of like if Michael Jackson was like 15 years old singing it. He's singing a record. He's selling the record. He comes across very well. It's believable when he's telling the story, man. And that's a great record, man. I think you talk, and it's a testament to their catalog, how these songs just pop up in the consciousness. Like somebody, I think it was Chin Beats, was referring to the Roses Are Red that used to be on the McDonald's TV commercial. So when you look at the song quality, man, that these guys have, it's great, man.
yeah. What about you, Sheldon? What makes your number three?
My number three is Babyface. Where do you go? From the Tender Lover album. I love that record. It's a haunting type of ballad.
Wow. Didn't expect that.
It's a twist. I mean, because it's not one of the straightforward ballads like I Love You and Roses Are Red and Can We Talk, but he's at a crossroads with the person he's singing about, man. And when you listen to him sing the record, it's almost like, yeah, where will you go in Sunshine? I mean, that's like I could just put them three in there all together. Yeah, where will you go? And there's another one, but where will you go? It's a great song because it's a down tempo record, downbeat record, because I won't say it's a dark ballad, but it's Poking Out Pity Pat. He summed it up for me. Their songs make you feel like deja vu, like you heard it before, but also listening to that record, you can place yourself into the record because he's at a crossroads with the love of his life, and he's kind of recapping, telling the story of how happy they were, how great they were, and then it's just like now they're at a standstill, and he's like, "Hey, who's gonna love you like I do? Where will you go?"
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he hits that high pitch, at the end to bring the record home. So yeah, where will you go, man? Sunshine is really super dope too. But that's my number three.
Okay.
Tell
Stevie,
you
what
what,
about yourself?
number one, guys. I'm anticipating number one here from. Wonder if I'm going to tie for the first day. See, this is the round that'll decide it all. Anyway, number two. What a great debut album from this group. I mean, I love the album, but I've tied about 3 or 4 records in this. Ready?
No, it's your number three. Your number three, not number
three.
two.
Oh, sorry, number 3 is Tevin Campbell. Same as you, Can We Talk? And I've tied it with there's 3 great ballads on that second album. Always in My Heart, which just haunts me, and I'm Ready. All 3 of them are just you can't. It's hard to touch the touch that them 3 records. Just great songs. And I've given my number 2 away there, but anyway, it doesn't really.
Yeah, well, we could maybe not though. Maybe not.
Always in My Heart. Can We Talk? But Tevin always. I'm Ready.
Yeah,
just incredible ballad. Again, Daryl Simmons has a lot to do with them as well, I think.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, I and I appreciate the fact that when he remembered the interview that I did, and he shouted me out when he did his Christmas message and stuff. But for those who didn't know, Daryl Simmons went to high school with Babyface, and the moment he saw him, he said, "This guy is so good. I need to just cling to this guy." and there was no ego. It was like, man, this guy's better than I am, and I'll just be beside him. And when he goes, I
What
go.
was that group they were in?
And
Is it Mandrill? I can't remember. What's Sheldon?
Man
Child?
Child. Man Child. Yeah.
Yeah. So my number two, and after we do our number two, we're going to summarize our. We'll go do our top 10 now. Well, 9 to 10 to 2, and then we'll also talk about some of our, the misses that we didn't get in our list. But the reason why I put this as number 2 is because instead of Can We Talk, is because this is the forerunner of Can We Talk, and this was Roni, because it was the track where it was like, wow, look at him. He's talking about the kind of girl that you'd want, the little rap in there. I just, oh goodness, it's
better than that Girlfriend
Roni.
record that was in it. Far better than that Girlfriend record.
But but just think about, they got Bobby to be sensitive in the whole stuff. If you believe in love and all that she can do, I mean, I'm thinking about, wow, what kind of girl is this kind of thing, And the story behind Babyface, in an interview, he said is that they used to have when he was in the deal, they wrote the song when he was still in the deal, and Roni was it was the sort of code name for a groupie. Yeah, okay, you got a Roni tonight? And that's how he sort of picked that. That was how he used it to sing about it. It is I was going to say it's Bobby's best track, but it's not. But it was groundbreaking, and it's a beautiful track, and I think one of Babyface's best written records. And I think everything, all the other ballads afterwards, all the ballads afterwards follows. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sheldon.
He's froze.
He's froze. Maybe a little wind. Okay.
The Roni
Go
record.
ahead, Sheldon.
Again.
We lost you for a second.
The Roni.
Oh. Just as we were getting to the. Okay, yeah.
Good?
No, okay.
Yeah.
We got you now. Go ahead.
Right. So obviously the Roni, short for Tenderoni, the slang that was out back then. But that record, even though people talk about My Prerogative and the other record probably gonna bring up, to me, that record is almost like that record solidified Bobby as a quote unquote sex symbol in that, because you're doing the up-tempo records like wow, and the up-tempo records are dope. But for him to turn around and do a ballad, and it's the type of ballad where you're doing it's a ballad that younger people can kind of attack, because he's not trying to sing like a Celine Dion ballad or nothing like that. It's like the ballad they wrote. It was a contemporary ballad. Everybody couldn't pull the record off, man. I think most recently somebody tried to sing it. Bobby Valentino, he sang it about 10 years ago, and then he brought Bobby on stage to sing it with him. But that record, man, Tenderoni, man, Roni, that's a big record. I remember watching the videos at the time. Bobby was big, and they had the video, long form video, and they used to show him. I used to go in the department stores, and they used to show, and he would be, interviewing. They talk to him, and he'd be setting the record up. But man, I think that Roni record just was like that, kind of like solidified his appeal.
Here's one for the UK viewers. Does anybody remember the 7-inch picture disc release of Bobby Brown's Roni? Or was that Rock With You? It's either one or no, it's Rock. I'm getting mixed.
Rock With You.
Yeah.
Rock With You. Rock With You was the one. I forgot. Rock With You was the one Bobby Valentino did. Rock With You was the one, but that's what it was.
Picture disc release of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
see that.
I wanna. So you've gone for Roni at number.
And my number 2, Sheldon. What's your number 2?
I struggle with this one. Number 2 for me, Don't Be Cruel. Number 2.
Oh.
Whoa.
Number 2 is Don't Be Cruel.
There it goes then. We're not gonna
Don't be It could have been my number one, but I said, you know what? I like another record better than that. I've been with it. I've heard "Don't Be Cruel" so much, so I had to put it at my number two. I'm gonna tell you what made that record so dope was Bobby singing the record, and then he's got the rhyme in the middle. It was just like, man, it was something new. I'm seriously, man. When that record came out in '88, there weren't at the time. You didn't have young people putting out records like that. It just they weren't putting out records yet. So when it comes out, because again, this is I think the record comes out. I'm hearing this one before I even hearing Guy and everything else, and I'm hearing this record. And one thing about LA and Babyface records at the time, I was living in Hawaii. And Hawaii never really had like black R&B radio stations. Their radio stations were, I don't want to say it was pop, but you could say equivalent to top 40. And I'm gonna tell you, LA and Babyface records lived on pop top 40 radio, whether it was Pebbles, Bobby Brown, Guy Records. No, they hated Guy Records. But the LA and Babyface, they had an ear candy. It was radio friendly. It was slick. And just to hear Bobby sing, but that when he was rhyming in the middle of the record, I was like, man. And then to see the video when he's dancing, that's when I knew that the corner had that music had turned the corner. For me, yeah, we know what's going on with the New Jack Swing, but for me, when Don't Be Cruel came out, that let me know that music was going in a different direction, man. In terms of artists. Dope record, man. Dope record. That's my number two. Funky record.
Stevie, what?
And I play that one more now than I play my prerogative, man. I just love it how it starts off with the whole eerie vibe, and then he goes into the record. Oh man, especially the long version. And Bobby Brown is don't be, and then they go back into the refrain, and then you hear the background vocals, the LaFace crew singing in the background. Oh man, just everything about that record is so perfect, man.
Okay, we can't wait to see what your number one is. Stevie, what's your number two?
I think you two have already discussed it, but we've talked about Ready or Not, but After Seven at number two, I'm going to throw Can't Stop in there as well as Ready or Can't Stop was a big, probably because of the one, again, going back to 12 inches, there was a 12-inch remix by One World, which is just an incredible mix. Added a lot of bass to it. It's probably a better, I prefer that actually to the album mix, but as a song, Can't Stop, it's just another anthem. I tied it with Heat of the Moment. I mean, that album, one, and that track, that mid-tempo, One Night of Loving. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I love that album so much. But After Seven, just great memories of that album. Ready or Not, Can't Stop, Heat of the Moment. Easily.
And then when Can't Stop, I love when they're singing Can't Stop, right? And the hook is really, I'm digging on you, you digging on me. But I love how the music is playing, and then they drop the music out, and all you got is hand claps.
Yeah.
Man, just, oh.
I need to send you a link, actually, Sheldon, to the One World remix. It was like, there were a bunch of UK remixes, but
okay,
it takes honestly takes the track to a completely different level as a remix. But, but it's a brilliant song. So that's my number two.
So before we get to number one, I'm going to go down to my top. I'm going to go from 10 down to 2, and then I'm going to mention a few tracks that didn't make it in. I started my number 9 and my number 10 at End of the Road. Then number 9 was Two Occasions. Number 8 was Heat of the Moment. Number 7 was A Song for Mama. Number 6 was Superwoman, but that whole Karen White debut album with LA and Babyface. My number 5 was Ready or Not, After 7. Number 4 was Love Should Have Brought You Home Last Night. Number 3 was Can We Talk? And my number 2 was Roni. Tracks that I wish I could have put in my top 10. Definitely the Mac Band, Roses Are Red, because that was a massive track. Rock Steady by the Whispers. I forgot that they were like a 70s group that they just made in the 80s, but it was a massive track. Last Night by As Yet.
Well, Last Night. Nice
track. That when you listen to, I had an interview with Boys to Men, And they said that actually, when they heard the track, they thought somebody had stolen their formula. That's how powerful that track is. So these are honorable mentions. Um, why?
Oh,
3T.
forgot about that.
Why does Monday? Oh man! And it wasn't just because Michael was in it, but it was just the same Babyface and his ballads, man. Um, but there were some tracks that Babyface did that influence other people. Um, when Can I See You Again? Influence Cupid by 112 because they wanted to get Babyface to write for them. They couldn't afford him because they ran out. The budget was couldn't afford him, so they did Cupid based on when Can I See You Again, and the same thing with Kissing You was they did the same thing. So a lot of groups really that was just a beautiful track, and two other tracks that I wish I could have put in. The Boys, Down My Heart. As a kid, they laugh like, look at these kids just like me, singing and dancing. Down my heart, to call my baby on the phone. Down my heart. And they were little kids. Oh man. And you know what? Madonna's Human Nature. Was it called Human Nature album?
Bedtime Stories.
Bedtime Stories. Take a
Brilliant
Bow.
record. Brilliant record.
Oh, goodness, and as I said, when Babyface sings the hook, the background with
Haunting,
God,
haunting
he's such
record.
yeah, yeah. So those are my songs that I wish I could have put in and stuff like that. But ultimately, my number one, I have no idea what Sheldon was going through there. Is Don't
Exactly.
Be
What are
Cruel.
you going through?
I don't know what Sheldon was drinking, but Don't Be Cruel is I don't know how many it's better than Prerogative to me. Goodness, if you look at the video, see Bobby the way how happy he is when he's performing that track. They're singing, he's rapping, he goes back and forth. It's just an unbelievable track. I don't even know. I think it's their best production. I think that was them at their best, and so I think it was they got Bobby at his best with that. Don't Be Cruel. I mean, not knocking you, sir. I'm sure your
No, no,
number
no.
one
When
is
you
going to
see
be something different.
when you see my number one, you'll understand because that to me that is because when you see my number one, you'll understand. But you're right, that's their best as a duo, as a production team. So I'm kind of giving away. I'm kind of giving away my number one because it's not. It's a Babyface songwriting song. It's a songwriting
Yeah,
production.
no, that's fine, that's fine. But just
I
just
think
just to really, I mean, I'm sure people will who would listen to who if you just go and just say we've given you our top tens and stuff, but if you listen to don't just go just search it and look at it. So when I was in Nigeria, the rumor was that Karen White was given the track, but she said it was just too much rap, so she turned it down. Now, of course, Karen says no, that was never the case. Both Daryl Sims and Carol says no, and Karen said no, that wasn't the case. But it was just that song actually set. I think it's Bobby's best track. As much as I love Teddy, but I think that was his best track. So my number one there. So Sheldon, go down from your number 10 to two, and some of the tracks that couldn't make it in.
okay, my kind of girl, number 10, 9 when you get right down to it, 8 two occasions, 7 ready or not, 6 my, 5 nothing compares to you. Um, where do you go? Um, don't be cruel. And then my number one. Okay.
No, no. Before your number one, some of the tracks that
Well,
you
okay.
didn't
So
honorable mentions. Any honorable mentions?
yeah, I got a few honorable mentions. Not gonna cry, Mary J. Blige. It's no crime. The Babyface record, the Tony Braxton
Okay.
record, Let It Flow, Sunshine, the Babyface, Rock Steady by the Whispers, Last Night, End of the Road, I'll Make Love to You. Um, Can't Stop, Heat of the Moment, and When Can I See You Again? Those are my honorable mentions. All
Okay.
right. My number
Yeah.
one is going to be Give You My Heart with Babyface and Tony Braxton. I love the chemistry that they have with them. Again, if you look at LA and Babyface, Don't Be Cruel is probably their best, my all-time favorite collaboration that they have together. So you're right. So by technicality, that could be a number one, but I just, listening to Give You My Heart, I just love the chemistry between Tony and Babyface. And I just love it, man. And the drum beats and just how they go back and forth, very seamless. And of course, I always love when Babyface hit that woo. You know what I'm saying? But Give You My Heart, I love that record, man. But don't be, I gotta, we talking about duos, LA production team. Yeah, Don't Be Cruel is it. But Give You My Heart is my favorite for right now. So, because at first I was going to cave in. I was going to cave in and say, yeah, you're right for number one. But I'm going to stick to my choice.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't hold back here. I cannot hold back.
It would have been great though for us to end this podcast to have the same record. I mean, but I know I spoiled it.
Climax. That's going to be the biggest climax of all time on our podcast.
I wonder how many people even remember the track. Give You My Heart.
That's an honourable mention. An honourable mention. A number one bit.
At best.
Oh, dear me.
I love it, man.
We need to rerun this whole episode again.
Hey, man, listen. I was going to cave in at first, but I said I'm not going to cave in.
You need to cave in.
And to make myself look. Y'all are roasting me right now, but again, it should have been number one. It should have been number one. I understand it, but I'm hearing Give You My Heart in my ear, and I just love the chemistry they have.
Listen, you're going to not sleep tonight. You're going to be kicking yourself all night.
Like Joseph Pierre.
Nightmares. You're going to be nightmares, Sheldon.
Okay. Well, tell you what. Okay, listen. That's my personal favorite. But again, if I had to stop, if Give You My Heart was not number one, Don't Be Cruel would be number one. And I know it would be great to end the podcast with us having the same three records, top number one. It would have been really great. I know I ruined it. I spoiled it. Y'all are roasting me. I appreciate it. But Give You My Heart, I'm going to tell you, when you get off, when we get done with this, put it on. And you're going to be like, I forgot about that. That's so cool.
I played that record a lot. I did really enjoy that record, but it's not a number one for me. It's not a number one. It's a really good record, but not number one. But hey.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes a top 40. Yeah, it makes a top 40. But anyway.
Yes. I almost caved though. I almost caved in. As soon as you said number, don't be cruel. I was gonna be like, you know what? I might need to change this. I need to be secret, really secretly, just scratch it out and just change it. But
Sheldon spoiled the party. He spoiled the
party. Goodness, Stevie, what save us with yours.
I'll do my top 20, but I've got one honourable mention, and I know. One honourable from a record that I've only just discovered in the last 2 weeks, and that's thanks to another channel, really good channel, YouTube channel called Vinyl Albums, because he does a lot of, he picks like his forgotten, like, or unsung forgotten R&B tracks from like the 80s and 90s, and he picked this artist out, and I thought it was a brilliant track, but I went back to his albums and I found an album by him from 1997 that sunk by Trace. I don't even like the album cover. You just wouldn't even, you'd look and go, nah, and just put it back. But the album, well, the artist in question, believe it or not, is I don't know how you guys pronounce it. It might be, it's either Kenny Loggins or Kenny Loggins, one or the old Kenny Loggins.
It's Kenny Loggins. Kenny Loggins.
He does some pretty shocking soundtrack music in the 80s. Did he do Footloose? Or am I getting mixed up? Yeah, Footloose. We'll forget.
Yeah, that's the one. Danger Zone, Footloose.
Yeah,
and then he had a record in the 70s. No, he had a record in the 70s called This Is It. You got to listen to that.
Yeah, I like that one.
Great record.
But Babyface wrote a song from him on a 1997 album. The song, go and check it out. It's called All I Ask. It's a brilliant song. It's as good as anything we mentioned tonight. But it's a real unsung Babyface track called All I Ask. But anyway, From number 20, I had John B and Babyface, Someone to Love.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Number 19, I had Belle Biv DeVoe, Something in Your Eyes, which
Okay.
literally saved that second album there, Sooty Mac. Number 18,
I
I
don't
think
think
I
I could save
mentioned
it.
it. The Jacksons, Nothing That Compares to You. Number 17, I had a tie between Brandy, Sitting Up in My Room, and also Shanice. Don't Wanna. What was that Shanice record on the Don't Wanna Love You was on the Boomerang thing. Good beat, good song. You know, very unsung. 16, I had The Deal. Let No One Separate Us, 2 occasions. 15, I had Babyface, which I already mentioned. 14, I had Jermaine Jackson with I Dream a Dream and Treat You Right. Whoa, what a song that was on that 1991 album. Tony Braxton at number 13 with Love Should Have Brought You Home. TLC at number 12. We didn't mention TLC. Baby,
No,
Baby,
no, I
Baby,
don't. Yeah.
Digging on You, Red Light Special. And at number 11, I debated putting this at number 1, but I thought, like Sheldon, I'd have got absolutely roasted. But number 11 had Madonna, Take a Bow.
Yeah,
Could have
it
made
was
that in
just a
top
good
10.
track.
Surprised myself there.
Yeah.
So number 10 was Dynasty or Dynasty, Tell Me. Sheena Easton at number 9 with The Lover in Me. Number 8, Karen White with The Way You Love Me. 7, Damien Dame, Right Down to It and Exclusivity. 6, Pebbles, Giving You the Benefit. Number 5, Johnny Gill, My. Number 4, the Matt Band, Roses Are Red. Number 3, Tevin Campbell, Can We Talk. Number 2, After 7, Ready or Not. So the big number 1, I tied 3 records together that just my all-time favourites. Don't Be Cruel, Every Little Step, and On Our Own. My big 3. I can even throw Rock With You in there and roll.
Yeah, but what makes number? I mean, what's your ultimate number one? Though I know you've tagged them in, but
It's got to be Don't Be Cruel, because when I heard that, I'd
yeah,
never heard anything like it before. I didn't even know it was
yeah,
Ellie and
it was,
Baby. I've never even heard of Ellie and Babyface when I heard that record. I just thought, here's the new Michael Jackson. It is Bobby Brown. A new star is born. Here he is. And, his stardom really only lasted for one album, which is a shame. And, I've got to keep, every podcast we do, we always talk about Bobby Brown, don't we?
He is the king of R&B.
Well, that wraps up. Is there anything? We had a great top 10 from our French viewer. What's she called? Still can't pronounce her name. Can we get it up?
Savage One.
Yeah, can we get her top 10 up? Because she wrote her top 10. She split it into 3 parts, but it's it's a very mid-90s top 10. It seems to avoid anything pre-1993.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that top 10. Number 10, Water Runs Dry. There Babyface, good track from around early 2000s. Red Light Special, Tony Braxton, 7 Whole Days. Yeah, fine record.
One, yeah.
Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Have I never? Hoe of My Own, Highland Place Mobsters. Jeez. Babyface, How Come How Long. Johnny Gill, Tell Me How You Want It. Mary J, Not Gonna Cry. Number 2, Something in Your Eyes. Number 1, A Damn Thing Called Love. Yeah, it's a very mid to late 90s.
Yeah,
really good. Solid top 10. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we left out.
I got one more. One more. My ultimate honorable mention is the fictional Milestone group.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I Care About You.
The Milestone. Was it
Milestone? Girl, I care about you. I care about you. Yeah. That was pretty good. That's my. Yeah. Go ahead.
A lot of us did not include anything from Waiting to Exhale, and actually, if you do soundtracks, that was Milestone, but because that, people put Mary's "Not Gonna Cry." It was a beautiful song, but it's a depressing song. I listen to that and I feel depressed anytime I hear that track. So I as much as I know it's a good song, I hate listening to it because it sounds depressing. You could feel that it's, goodness. So yeah, I skipped that track.
But
It's
you
a
know what
beautiful
though?
album.
They're very good when they get that record for her because she's coming off 411 and she has those sad songs and all that. So that record was that was like custom made for her, it seemed like. But I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah. Because she's yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it actually, as I said, we'll do a soundtrack stuff later. But yeah, that track by Mary, "Not Gonna Cry." It's just, it's just like, oh goodness, it's. I switch it up quickly. Like, oh man, no, Mary, it's not. I'm not ready to be depressed today.
Tell you what, we haven't
Kind of thing.
mentioned really. What did we think of the Whitney Houston songs that Ellie and Babyface did with her? Because they were very poppy, weren't
Yeah.
they?
Oh, my name's not
Yeah,
Susan from that Queen of the
I'm your
Night.
baby
But
tonight.
the
And
Snoop and all man,
Oh,
those
I love that.
records.
I'm your baby for night. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. When they put those songs out on those albums, I mean, those albums are okay. And I think that when you look in terms of that, they kind of the song I love the most from that album is called Miracle.
for me, they just
It's a
didn't do it for Whitney, though, did they? You considering all them great songs he wrote, where was the great song for Whitney? Did they give her one?
yeah, but
So what Babyface said in an interview was that the mission from Clive was to just get her
to Black
connected to the
Radio.
black market. So
Yeah,
they didn't want a big, massive hit because she was having those big ballads and they were selling a record, but she felt that when she got booed at Soul Train, so it was like, no, just make a record that she can be re-embraced by the community. So we don't want, it doesn't need to be 20, 30 million. So that was their remit. So that album sort of, that was the mission for that album. And then after that, she did "I'll Always Love You" kind of thing, and she was we embraced her. So they did what they were supposed to do.
I thought it was.
yeah.
I thought they were
It's
disappointing. I thought they were disappointing. I'll be honest.
Yeah, but that was what
that
Clive wanted. He wanted to do a
yeah.
safe record, safe album. Nothing. Don't go doing big ballads and stuff like that. Just do something
Yeah.
real safe.
That record, when you
Yeah,
listen to that one, I mean, Miracle, like I said, that one is a few other ones. It's a more soulful R&B based album. When you look at the album cover, she's like she's by a motorcycle. So they was like, trying to change the whole image, no glamour situation going on. And you're right, they were trying to do a record straight to black radio. And so it's kind of a balance between the two. But I think that it wasn't as strong as the first two albums, but they made up for it. They made up for it when she did the waiting to exhale. They made up for it because the shoot, and
yeah.
everything else that she's doing on that, it was just really, really good.
Yeah, it's a lot
But yeah,
stronger.
it would have been great for them to, yeah, very strong. Yeah,
We-
but Narada Michael
we-
Walden
and
was
we-
dope for her. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't talk, we didn't do too much of Babyface post LA. So when we talk about Every Time I Close My Eyes and When Can I See You Again? I mean, he was, he did some nice solid stuff, but they didn't make their big impact as most of the stuff they did in the 80s
But
that
you know what it
really
is?
were.
You know what it is?
Mhm.
Those albums that he was coming out, like for the Cool in You, was that record, that's Soda Records. But when he was doing the record that came out in '96, that was more like a mature. I think people had kind of like moved on because the R&B was going into like hip hop soul. So I think it was great that's where he got off. He got off that train. He was able to ride the New Jack train, and he just jumped off before it went into hip hop soul because now they're singing off of loops. So, but that record he did the album he did in '96, he had I think it was Eric Clapton was on that album. It was one, and Stevie Wonder. That album won a lot of Grammys, man. But it was the album that it was when they think of the Babyface albums, they think of maybe the first, the second, and maybe the third. But the fourth one was like he was going for a mature sound. So that one, but that was the biggest one in terms of as far as the reception with the Grammys and all of that. But yeah, the post Babyface stuff was really good. Obviously, when we dig into that Waiting to Exhale album, that's where you see a lot of that. Obviously, like Kenny G and a lot of stuff. But I'm thinking that now he's doing stuff now for like I won't say an older audience, but it's not now. You're just not geared toward younger artists. It's now you're doing it
Well,
for more of adult. He's in that adult contemporary space. But great songs, man. Great
what was
songs.
that guy that the baby that Bobby rapped on? He ain't worth it.
Oh,
Was
Glenn
that an LA
Medeiros.
Babyface track? Was that an LA Babyface
No,
track?
no,
Because it
that
sounds
was
like that.
Nick. I think it was Nick Monday. I think it was. It sounded very LA
Okay.
face.
Which
Yeah,
song is
yeah.
this?
Glenn,
Because
What song is that?
Medeiros, She Ain't Worth It, which featured Bobby Brown.
Oh yeah.
It was a very,
Yep,
it was a very
yeah.
Poundland sounding LA Babyface, but I enjoyed it. I did really enjoy that record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll never
she
forget.
ain't worth
I'll
it.
never forget that music. Do you ever see that music program on BBC Two, Nandi? Wasn't the old Grey Whistle Test? It was like Jules Holland was on it, Nana Cherry was on it, and I can't remember the other member, but they play like 5 records that came out that week and review them, and they go like hit or miss, and it's still on. You've got to see this. It's still on YouTube. You can still watch it if I can remember the name of the show. They're reviewing Glenn Medeiros' "She Ain't Worth It," and they panic. I mean, they literally. Who's this Glenn Medeiros trying to look like Bobby Brown in the shoulder? Unbeknownst to them, Glenn Medeiros is in the back. He's in the back. They're waiting to bring him out as their guest. And Nana Cherry's going, yeah, it's a terrible record. This, trying to look like Bobby Brown. It's really bad, and this, that, and the other. And he goes, and Jules Holland's like, he's presenting the show, and his head goes down. He goes, well, it's rather it, and all the crowd go, it's a miss. And he goes, we can't afford that, people, because tonight's special guest is Glenn Medeiros, and he comes out and he's got his head down like, and he's looking at Nana Cherry's like you know what I mean, looking at and he goes, and to console him, Jules Holland gives him a painting. This is a present for you to take, and he goes, yeah. He didn't even say a word.
Oh my
it's still on
goodness.
YouTube, so you can watch it. It's a brilliant clip.
Oh my
Glenn
goodness.
Medeiros,
You know
man.
what?
That's some UK stuff. Well, that's some serious tongue in cheek.
I
It's some
need to
UK
send the link to
people
it. I'll
right
send you
there,
the link
man.
to it.
But I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
something, man. When you look at that, Bobby had a run, and obviously my prerogative was what it is, man. But that first album, most of the hits were coming off the LA and Babyface side, man. And you talking about from 88 to 90, Bobby had a record out.
But anything he touched, yeah, I loved it. It ain't no, it ain't. Is that the one he did? He rapped on it. It ain't.
Girl ain't worth it or whatever.
Tell why it. No, it ain't no. Ain't a crime.
Yeah,
On Babyface,
yeah.
he featured
No,
on that.
no. My kind. Yeah, I think it's my kind of girl.
No. What? It ain't. No, L.A. Get Bobby out of here. What was that
Tender
track,
Lover.
guys?
Tender Lover.
Was that Tender Lover?
Right.
Oh yeah, it
right.
was Tender Lover. Yeah. That was with Bobby rapping on it and stuff, because Bobby was big. So for me, it was like I actually was like, oh man, these guys know Bobby Brown. I didn't know LA and Babyface and stuff. So yeah. So guys, it's been interesting, going through our top our Babyface track. We're not sure what I think the snow has really fallen heavily on Sheldon. Again, with his number one pick. I mean, that was as left field as you could come with that one.
Man.
But anyway,
I'm telling you, look, all I said was, look, man. If we were doing the LA and Babyface, their greatest production,
that's what we're doing.
But we also included Babyface records too.
He's picked his favorite.
Babyface records too. So so that's what I'm saying. That's why that was the slight edge. But Don't Be Cruel that's their best. That's together. It really, really is. It's their best.
Sheldon's picked his favorite. Just be prepared to get roasted if we don't agree.
I just gave my favorite, man. We didn't say, we just favorite.
Yeah, I wonder how easy it's going to be next week. So yeah, people are saying next week is Teddy Riley.
Should we delay? Do you
So
think we
he
should
is my
delay
old,
that one?
Oh, it is.
The
yeah.
thing is,
Next
if we
week's
do the Teddy Riley one, that is like, how can we top that after that? Should we delay it and maybe do another? I don't know, do somebody else. So I don't know. Or there's no time like the present. What the viewers thinking? Do you want the Teddy Riley one next week for definite, or should we delay it a few more weeks till we get a few others in? You know, we could get a Kyle West in, we could get a Dallas Austin in, we'll get an Untouchables in. You know. But do you want your Teddy Riley next week? We've got the big Teddy Riley next week coming up.
The consensus seems like it's Teddy Riley. I guess they want us to break the internet. You know what I mean?
yeah. Because because think about it. Yeah, Teddy is Teddy. Teddy deserves to go
as long
next.
As you don't put Cool Mo D at number one next week, I'm all good. You know what I mean, guys? You know what I mean?
Go see the doctor.
Tell the doctor otherwise.
Yeah, no. As I said, once we do Teddy, because Teddy is Teddy, and so that would be an interesting one. And this is, God, I wish we did. I wish I'd picked his versus top 10 for him anyway. So guys, we as always we really appreciate you guys for joining in, giving us your top 10. It isn't easy, picking these tracks, but it's one of the things that we've been trying to do.
I thought this week was easier though, especially number one.
Yeah, well, Sheldon kind of yeah. I'm glad we don't take bets on this stuff. Yeah, but I'm saying that this is what we've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years, is trying to celebrate these artists, not just by interviews, but by celebrating their music. I mean, there's so much rich stuff that they've come out with. I really, really enjoyed the Jimmy and Terry one so much, and this one as well. And I'm sure when we do Teddy and when we do some of the other producers down the road, but this is what we're really doing, is just really celebrating and honoring these great music and stuff. And we definitely appreciate the fact that you guys join in and support us and actually remind us of songs that we didn't remember and stuff. So yes. So any final words, Stevie and Sheldon, before
just another
log
great
off?
episode? And like you say, the viewers have really you've outdone yourselves chiming in this week with all the picks and the choices. It tells you it's a big episode this week. Really enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us on Sunday evening.
Yes.
In the middle of the January blues.
Yeah, I think Sheldon, you'll be able to get into this one as well. So anyone that missed it, Sheldon didn't even think Devontae Swing would enter his top 10 producers. He just snuck him in there at number 9 or so, almost as if, well, not might as well put him in there.
At number 40, Devontae.
Yeah,
top 40 choice.
Number 70. Yeah. Listen, man. Listen, I understand quality over quantity, because if you're going off quality over quantity, yeah, you got to give it to them. But when I'm looking at other producers in terms of the longevity and all of that, hey man, I'm sorry, that's why he's my number 9.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of messages about Michael Jackson. That would be a tough one, but and it probably hard to. Can we do a top 10 Michael Jackson? I don't even know if you could do a top 10.
Could do it.
Okay. Yeah. So that'll be something we can put out there. But anyway, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune in next week. Teddy Riley, the King of New Jack Swing. Hopefully, Teddy might see this and say, you know what, I need to come on live. And, I'd love to be able to bring him on and ask Teddy for his top 10 productions. We can only wish. But thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys next week, same time. Top 10 Teddy Riley tracks, and it should be fun. So take care, guys. See you guys.